It's the JT Cho Show!
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the JT Show. I'm your host, JT. Today is August 31st, 2020, and this is the last podcast for the month of August. Today, I bring to you a very special guest. You might know him if you've listened to my previous podcast. He is the creator of the Cape Kid podcast, and he also plays professional basketball overseas. Nick Minnerath, everybody. So I'm going to bring him right into the conversation. All right. That should have did the trick right there. All right. Hey, man, how's it going today? You're in Korea, correct?
Yeah, South Korea. Thankfully.
Yeah. So we're in a 13-hour time difference. So I want to, first of all, thank you for taking the time out to do this on your busy schedule.
For sure. Not so busy right now, but it's been a long time to catch up.
How was that long flight, especially with everything going on?
The flight and everything was actually real smooth. It was, I'm used to it at this point, but, with this COVID stuff going on, it actually made travel easier.
Right.
Believe it or not. Less people at the airports and everything. So the travel was real smooth. Right now, it's just quarantine. That's the only rough bit.
Right. And so once you're done quarantining, what's your schedule about to look like?
My quarantine is the same as, any normal person that comes to Korea right now. It's 2 weeks.
Right.
Luckily, like a regular person that comes has to stay at a government facility. Sucks. Right now I'm actually at a facility which the government allowed. So
right.
A lot more accommodating for me and the family. But, we got about 5 days left. And then, once I get out of here, we'll pack up all our stuff again and move over to the apartment. Our apartment is on the team facility, which is like 15 minutes from where I'm at right now.
Right. That's one thing that I found very interesting when it came to playing basketball overseas compared to the United States is that you explained in your podcast, which is the Cape Kid podcast, that basically a lot of the teams provide you with your apartment, and that's in the contract.
Yeah, so everybody who plays overseas, even if you're making little to no money, a team is going to provide you with a place. I've never heard of anybody that plays professionally overseas. Like I said, even if they're making, dog shit money, the team is going to provide them with some sort of living accommodation. Not everybody is going to have the lavish stuff, but, everybody's going to have something that's provided by the team. And like anybody who's at a top level is going to get an apartment and, depending on the country, a car as well.
Right. I think it also helps them out, too, because they know where you're living. So, they're trying to take care of you in a way because you don't know the area at all.
No, yeah. They gotta know that you're going to be, getting to where you need to be on time and stuff like that. And, like I said, depending on the country, you'll have your own car. Asian countries won't always give you a car. You'll have a driver who picks you up and takes you to, the facility and games and stuff like that. So
that's not too bad. In your podcast, you kind of did a video where an episode where you talked about your steps from playing at Jackson College to Detroit Mercy to where you are today. Which level do you think was that hardest step for you to take to get where you're at today?
For sure from high school to junior college, because of the time lapse. I really didn't do anything in high school. I only finished 1 year of high school basketball. So to go to college after high school, I didn't play for 2 years. I was just working a regular job for 2 years. And then, by far the hardest thing was just to, get the mindset to actually go back to school. Basketball was a big part of it, but I mean, I still had to accept going back to school and taking classes in something that I didn't think I would ever do.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. I mean, even handling the load of a full-time program as well as a full-time student for studies, because I mean, we had geography class at Jackson College together, and I would just go home and do whatever I wanted to, and you would have to go and do practice afterwards and sometimes go to games. So do you think that the college level handling classes is a more hectic schedule for you, or do you think that with your current life and having a family at this point, which one would you say was the more busy lifestyle in between the two?
It's kind of like a catch-22 kind of. I mean, college is obviously way more hectic just because, just put it this way, if I was in America right now, it wouldn't be really anything to me. I mean, obviously I have to spend, lots of time with the team and the gym and traveling, but for the most part, the thing that is the biggest deal is like the travel and adapting to a new country and that sort of thing on this end. Whereas in college, it was junior college wasn't too bad. But, Division I, when I went to Detroit, I mean, it's very hectic. I mean, they keep you there, constantly all day. And then, at night you're doing study hall and you're doing all this other stuff. So,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
get done with practice and you just want to chill out, and you got to go to this study hall where people observe you doing your homework.
yeah. So, I mean, they both have their own challenges. I mean, I would have to say college for sure just because of the challenges of the classes. But, now, yeah, I'm free, but obviously there's more responsibility now.
So you just took that long flight over. You're in South Korea. You're quarantining. What's a snack? What are what are your travel snacks? What are your things that you might bring with you that you can't get overseas? What's your go-to?
Like nowadays, in this part of the world, in Europe, I really don't take that much food just because it's pretty easy to access at the grocery stores, anything you really want. But,
Okay.
in these Asian countries, it's a lot more difficult. So, these last few years, it's been, one suitcase is practically just for food, dry foods, just to get me through for the first couple of days, weeks before I can actually getting to know the area and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm a simple guy, packaged oatmeal. I take over like 100 packets of like the single packets of Quaker oatmeal.
Quaker. Yeah.
Uh, my normal stuff like supplements that I can't get outside of America. Just a whole suitcase full, dried jerky, all that type of stuff. Now, I'm not really into the sweets. My first couple of years, I would always take in like bags of Sour Patch Kids and stuff, but not anymore,
Yeah, I've cut back on my sugar just because I'll just get really fat if I keep eating all the candy. So what's what's something that you tried overseas, like a dish that's probably one of your favorites, like out of all the places that you've played so far?
I'm really not too adventurous in the food department. I do try a little bit here and there, but I'm pretty basic. I like American foods, hamburgers, pizza, that sort of stuff. It's just I do like Korean barbecue here. I was never into French food in any capacity. Spain had a little bit of stuff, but the Korean barbecue here is actually real good. It's pretty basic. It's like thin sliced beef. You put it on the grill yourself. It's pretty good.
Right. So you're not a huge food guy, but I always see you basically on your Instagram promoting, health and wellness. You're a big guy to work out all the time. What keeps you motivated for that gym all the time? Like, what is something that you could say, like, this is what drives me and might help someone else out, get that drive to be working out all the time?
One, it's a passion, obviously. I mean, I really like basketball, so it's my job. So, it's kind of just, but I mean, outside of basketball, I mean, I just really like to work out. Other than basketball, my favorite passion is weightlifting. So, there's real nobody forcing me into that sort of stuff. I just really enjoy it. And obviously the basketball thing is, it doesn't last forever. So I'm just trying to make it last as long as possible and get as much as I can out of it while I can.
Right. When you go to practices overseas, is there like a huge translation deal? Because I'm guessing have you had coaches that don't speak English, and like how hard is it with the like? Because I'm sure they have what do you call them? Not interrogators. God, I'm dumb. Translators. Wow, I'm dumb. Yeah. Explain like that issue in basketball.
It's actually funny, like for the most part, most coaches will speak some portions of English at least. In my career, personally, I've just happened to have all my coaches basically not speak any English. So, at this point, I'm just really used to it. Again, most coaches, especially in Europe, at least speak a little bit of English to get their point across. But, again, for me, I'm just used to – I haven't had any coaches that speak English, so it's always a translator involved. And it's really – to me, it doesn't really make a difference as far as the basketball goes. It's a little hard on the personal level, you want to have some sort of rapport with your coach.
Right.
So, you don't always want to just have a translator there. It's not as personal. So on that level, it's definitely difficult. But on the basketball level, it really has no effect. I mean, you go over the plays. It's at the end of the day, it's just basketball, and the translator there during practice. So, that part is not bad.
How much? What would you say like the percentage is for your teammates being able to be bilingual? So is there like more of just a basketball universal language,
No.
or is it one of those things where you guys slowly get to know each other and a lot of them speak English over time, or I don't know how that works.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too. Again, for the most part, a lot of guys who play basketball are kind of into a lot of the same things. So, a lot of them watch American movies and American music. So they do know some English. At the end of the day, I think it comes more down to their confidence in speaking that language. Obviously, if I don't speak a language that well, you're going to feel some type of way and maybe not be as confident speaking it. So,
yeah, it's got to be tough.
Yeah, like a lot of the guys, they can probably get by speaking some English, but it's probably a confidence thing, so they just choose not to, that sort of thing, but understand.
Not going into like any specific things like that you've been called, but how's the trash talk in international basketball? Because I mean, we see it all the time, especially right now in the bubble that the NBA has, and they're playing. They pick up players' mics more. Is there a lot of talking back and forth in European basketball, or like how's that mix for trash talk?
When it comes to the games, I mean, there's really not. It's almost like it's a lot different than American basketball, whereas, you have, like in college and everything else, I mean, everybody's from America, everybody's used to that trash talk and stuff like that, kind of having fun with it, especially but Europeans, they don't trash talk like that. And for sure, Asians don't trash talk like that. It's just not a cultural thing. So like where I'm at right now in Korea, there's only 2 Americans on each team.
Right.
And only 1 American can play on the court at a time. It's very different rules than most places. But like Europe, for example, you'll have 4 to 6, let's say, Americans on each team. So you're talking about a very small number globally of Americans that are actually playing on teams, if you only have 4 on each team. So it's almost more of a camaraderie thing than like, yeah, you're trying to be competitive, but you're not really like going at each other's throats in a negative way, because it's kind of you guys against everybody else when you're over there. It's
Right.
just such a small portion. It's more of a camaraderie thing than anything else.
Okay. That's that's some of the things that you don't always get to see. What's how's the travel for like team? What's your usual traveling route? Like, how long does it take you guys to get to games? Like, how far do you guys usually travel to play basketball?
Well, right now is very good for me. This is why I like Korea. I was happy to come back again from last year, because the travel aspect is just another bonus aspect for me, because I've been in such nightmare situations as far as travel goes. Here, it's really simple. I mean, it's a small country. It's like the size of Delaware. So the longest we have to travel for a game is like 3.5 hours, by bus, or 4 hours by bus, which is, nothing. You can be home the same night as the game if it's an away game at the longest point. So for here, it's very simple travel. We have team buses. They're really nice, comfortable seats, stuff like that. So here, there's a few countries that are like that. Israel, Belgium, really small countries that, you only have about 3 hours max travel on the buses.
Right.
But once you get to Europe and stuff like that, you're talking heavy duty travel. Like when I was in Russia, for example, it was, massive flights all the time.
Mm.
Layovers in Moscow, your travel days would be like 10 hours on average. You'd land in Moscow, you'd be there for like 3 hours on a layover, and then you'd have another 4 hour flight to another city. So, and then when I was in France, we never flew anywhere, but we would take a bus. And from one side of France to the other is about 12 hours, 11 hours. And we had like a bed bus, and we would just drive straight through 10 hours, get there, go straight to the gym and practice. I mean,
Rough.
just crazy nonsense stuff.
Yeah.
So it all depends on your team, and all depends on the country. But right now, my travel is very easy.
And so what time of the day do like local time do you guys play games? Like early afternoon? Do you guys play 7 p.m. your local? What time do you guys usually play games?
Here we're playing games. Last year, I believe we played games at 5 for the most part. Almost all our games were at 5. And then very rarely we'd have a game at 7. And sometimes we would play at 3, which is the best. Those are the best games at 3 o'clock. But for the most part, globally, games are about at 7.
And then you guys on a game day, do you guys get together for a shoot around early on before the game starts?
Yeah.
Or
Always. That's it doesn't matter what country you're in. You're always gonna. If you have a 3 o'clock game, most likely you're not going to, which is again great about 3 o'clock games. You won't have a shoot around in the morning. You'll just leave to the gym earlier around noon, and then just go straight to the game. Whereas at 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock, you'll have a shoot around always in the morning at like 9 o'clock, 9 to 10, just to go over the other team's plays and get some shots up and go home.
and then during the game, like because I mean, the levels of basketball that you play at compared to anything that I've experienced, how do you handle the pressures of like you're out there, you talk about it in your podcast, you're an import. How do you handle the pressures of a crowd? Like sometimes you can, I mean, you're not always going to understand what they might be chanting because, you said you've had some popular crowds that stick with your teams, even through those tough losses. But how do you essentially push all that out to perform at the level that you do?
I think not being able to understand the language, I think benefits a lot of guys. I never really had an issue with even if I could understand people. I really don't really care what anybody's saying in the stands. But I think for a lot of guys, it's almost beneficial because they can scream and say stuff as loud as they want, but at the end of the day, you can't understand anyway. So it really should have absolutely no effect on you, other than the noise level. And to me, the noise level is always a benefit, whether it's negative or positive, chants or boos, you know?
Right. And then now you explain the rules for the league that you're in right now. So you have 2 imports on the same team. They can't be on the floor at the same time. How frustrating is that when you wish you could just, like you're sitting on the bench and there's only one of you guys in at a time? Like how like frustrating is that sometimes that you just want to get back in the game even though, you can't?
I think it all depends at what point of your career you're in. If it was my first year, I don't think I'd be able to really understand it. But you get to a point where if you enjoy where you're playing, you just kind of have to accept it at the end of the day. I really like it here. Are the rules great? No, it's difficult for anybody. The rules have changed. So before it was like it was in China. When I was in China, it was 2 imports could play the second and third quarters together, but the first and fourth quarter only 1 could play. So no matter what, you're still getting about in those types of situations. Even if you're say you're not playing as much as the other guy, you're still playing 30 minutes a game almost.
Almost the whole entire second and third quarter.
Yeah, so when I played with Jimmer, me and Jimmer would always play second and third quarter. We would both play the whole quarters. And the first and fourth quarter, he would play a little bit more in the fourth. So I was always getting less minutes on that aspect. But at the end of the day, I was still getting almost 30, whereas now they changed it in Korea. It used to be the same rules as China. And then the last year they had changed it to where, again, China is 48 minutes too, so that does make a difference. Europe and FIBA is only 40 minutes game, so it doesn't sound like a lot, but that extra 8 minutes does mean a lot when it's broken up like that. So,
and is that in halves or is that in quarters?
Quarters. Everything's
Okay.
quarters. So, the NBA plays 48 minutes and China plays 48 minutes. Those are the only 2 leagues that play 48 minutes, whereas everybody else plays 4 10-minute quarters.
Okay.
So here it's 40 minutes, but only 1 on the court at a time. So if somebody's in the game, I'm on the bench. If I'm in the game, he's on the bench. And so it's a give and take, but like I said, if you enjoy it and it's somewhere where you want to play, you kind of just got to put it on the back burner and accept it. And it's just the way it is,
And then, because a lot of your deals are year to year. I remember you saying that. How do you just do you just let your agent do it? Are you guys trading back and forth? What's your whole process that, so far has been, how do you handle that from year to year when if let's say you don't have a contract yet, what's your typical mindset for that?
I go back to, it all depends on, I guess, when in your career it is. Obviously in the beginning, you're constantly feeling that pressure. I want to move up to a better team, better money, all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, the later in the summer it would get, in August, obviously you're feeling why don't I have a deal yet? Where's the deal? But, as you go on in your career, you realize that, most deals, some people sign early, some people sign late, August, September. Almost everybody has a job by sometime in August. But, it's definitely a patience thing. For me this year, this was the earliest I ever signed. I signed as soon we ended our season in March, and this team that I'm currently on had reached out to me. Usually it's kind of not the other way around, but when the season's over, usually 2 months, 3 months go by, and then teams start opening up. They figure out their salary cap and all that sort of stuff, and then that's when your agent starts dealing with teams. But this year, this team actually reached out to me from last year, and I ended up signing in think it was like the end of April or May, something like that. By far the earliest I ever signed. So
Right.
for me, actually, first time I've ever actually been able to just kind of like relax and, keep it out of my mind for the majority of the summer.
Right. Now, does your agent is that an American-based company, or and then does he have representatives in most of the countries? Like, how does that work out to where you can contact your agent? Because, you've talked about having those raw deals, and sometimes like teams, they don't pay you, which is crazy. You're playing professional basketball and you're doing all this extra work, and we don't have the money that you signed a legal binding contract for. So like, how easy or hard or difficult is it to reach your agent when you need
Well,
your money or something from them?
it's I've been real lucky with my agent. It's funny that you say that because a lot of people go. It's not. It is good to have like a big time agent with who has like a big company. Again, it's almost like a catch-22. Again, it is good. They use a bigger company. At the end of the day, you would think would have more power, more resources, all that sort of stuff. But it kind of goes in the same way where you have these agencies that are so big, they can't take care of everybody the same.
Right.
Say they have 100 people. They can't take. They're going to put their priorities.
They're going to take the biggest contracts up top.
Feel that they want to put their priorities in, but might not always be getting the kind of help and things that you think you're getting, but you don't know what they're actually doing. Again, you can only put so much resources into so many people. So my agent in particular, I've been with him since I left Detroit. I signed with him as soon as I finished. I was introduced to him by one of my assistant coaches at the time. Right now, he owns a car manufacturer plant in Detroit.
Okay.
And lives in Michigan. And so, I mean, like, he's more like a friend to me than an agent. I've known him, we text on WhatsApp, family stuff. He doesn't work for an agency anymore. He used to work for a bigger agency in Europe, and that's where all his contacts came from.
Mm-hmm.
But I've known him. He only had a couple of people that he still represented. All his energy was going into like his family business. Like I said, the car manufacturer stuff, and he was doing the basketball thing as more of like a side hustle because he enjoyed it.
Right.
And right now, I believe I actually might be the only person that he's representing. So for me, it's been all good to be able to have that kind of relationship with someone. And again, a lot of guys jump around agents. They feel like they're not getting what they want. They change agents. To me, it never got to that point. I always just felt like you're going to get what you deserve at some point if you continue to play. It's not going to matter who your agent is.
Right.
So it's different for everybody. I think having a big time agent first coming out of college is beneficial, like a big agency. But as the years go by, not sure if it really matters.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an interesting aspect for it too, because there's so many things that like you brought to light, international contracts, like starting points this season.
I'll comment on that. You mentioned it about people not getting paid.
Yeah.
And again, that aspect. I mean, my agent always has done the background on a team where, he'll talk to players, agents from the previous year and things like that, asking them, did you get paid? Was things on time? All that sort of stuff. So it's important to have that kind of background information before you enter a team. But most teams aren't going to be around very long or get American imports if they're not paying. I mean, it doesn't take very long for word of mouth to get around that you're not paying imports. So
right.
For the most part, you don't hear that too often, but it happens.
Yeah. Do you have like I know that you brought, I can't remember his name. You brought him on I think episode 11. Your latest episode, you brought him out. Do you have like a small circle of people that you still know that play, international basketball?
The guy on my last episode, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually just met him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, during this whole COVID thing, since I moved to Florida, I really don't know too many people. There's one other person that I know that lives close by that I played with in Puerto Rico. Adrian Uter plays professionally. He's still playing in Puerto Rico. But for the most part, I don't know that many people. And during this whole COVID thing, nobody had gyms to work out in Florida. So
Right.
his family lives in the same community as me. And we just happened to come across each other because he was playing outside, or my wife saw him and his wife playing outside, and we just happened to connect that way, and come to find out that he also played professionally. And currently right now he's in Turkey with his wife playing as well.
Right. Is there like because I know that you mentioned reaching out to other players. Do you just kind of let your agent handle that, or do you like somehow, is there like a group page like
No, that sort of stuff is all on my agent's end. I trust him figuring out whether the team's legit and stuff like that. And I mean, I can do my own homework if I know him. If I deal from a certain team, for the most part, I've heard of them, unless it's a country I've never been, and then maybe I'll look them up and see what's what, see if I know anybody that played there. But once I sign somewhere, I'll figure out who was on the team the year before.
Mhm.
Maybe I know on Instagram or something, and then I'll hit them up and be like, what's the team like? How'd they treat you? All that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay. I got you. What's you play, you've got professional basketball on one hand, and then you've got your family in the other hand. How hard are those two things to balance, especially playing international basketball?
It really hasn't been too hard. Like my first year. No, yeah, my first 2 years, my wife was still in school, so
Mm-hmm.
that was different. But once she graduated and was able to, come overseas full time with me, like I've said on my podcast before, more difficult for her than it is for me in any sort of aspect like that, because it's, everybody. Yeah, you're a part of a family, but basically you're asking your spouse to kind of. She has a business degree in accounting and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
you're basically asking her to, not use that and kind of, follow you and go where you're going and that sort of stuff. So it's always difficult on that end. From her,
Gives you really something to think about,
yeah, spouse's point of view. Obviously she gets to see the world as well, but at the same time, I mean, everybody has their own goals and things that they want to do. So I can definitely see her point of view as it being difficult sometimes, but now that we have a son, hopefully another on the way at some point in the near future or whatever, it's great for him to travel, and obviously that adds to the equation for sure. I mean,
Right.
especially he was here last year. He's been all over the world already, and it's definitely not easy traveling with kids of that age, 1, 2, 3 years old.
Internationally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing taking a flight somewhere across, Jersey, but the flight to Atlanta to Seoul is like 14 and a half hours. So,
And those I've taken there and back because I've been over to that part of the world one time, and that's a rough 14-hour flight.
yeah,
And
I
I couldn't
mean,
imagine being a child who, of that age.
no, it's 14 hours in a plane is brutal.
Mm-hmm.
He actually handled it like a champ. The only difficulty we had on this trip was when we landed. Their quarantine stuff was super hardcore. I really wasn't expecting it. The team told us how things were going to go when we got to the airport, but I really wasn't prepared. I really had no idea. We landed. The flight was real smooth. Everything went good. But when we landed, it was really, I mean, heavy duty guidelines. Heavy duty. The paperwork was just monstrous paperwork that we had to do before we could enter the country.
All
And
in the airport, and all you want to do is get a shower.
yeah, like we'd just been in the air for 15 hours, and then the airport was like 2.5, 3 hours before we could even leave. So that was really the only difficult part of the trip was landing. So.
Oh, okay. What is how long are the seasons month wise? Like how long are you gonna if the season goes unhinged, everything sails smoothly, how long is the season gonna be this year?
Hopefully, again, yeah, like you said, but there's no COVID breakups
Mm-hmm.
last year. So I believe the last regular season game is end of March. I believe is the last regular season game. That's when it was. I think last year was March 25th or something like that. Uh, Again, we were only 6 games out last year from finishing the season, and right in February, it wasn't even that any players got COVID. It was just it had gotten so bad in the city where they decided to shut it down for a month, see if things would cool down. A month went by, uh, and then instead of restarting it again, they just decided that things hadn't gotten to where they were hoping for, and just ended up shutting it down for good. So
Right.
even though we were here until March 25th, we hadn't actually played since about February.
Okay. And how many games typically do you guys play a season?
Here we play a lot, so our games will start in October, and then again, yeah, end in March, and we play. There's 8 teams, or no, 10 teams, and so last year we played about 50 something games.
Okay.
So we play 3 games a week.
Oh, okay. Not a three
Yeah.
game like what Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday,
Yeah.
or does it vary?
Yeah, it varies. It breaks up. So sometimes you'll play like Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, then it'll break up the following week. So
Right.
it's
Okay.
not. Uh, to me, 3 games is perfect. It means less practice, less time to think. You lose a game. You don't have a whole week. Whereas in like Europe and a lot of places, you might only play 1 game a week. So here we're playing all Korean teams. We're not playing teams from outside of countries. In Europe, for example, I was playing in Europe. I was playing in Russia. We would play just Russian league, and then we were also in Champions League. You have like Champions League, Euro League, Euro Cup,
Okay.
and those are like leagues outside of the country you play in. So you have to like qualify for those leagues. And we were in Champions League, so we would play Russian League 1 day a week, and then we would play Champions League another day of the week. And Champions League was like teams from all over. So there was like, teams from France, Spain, Israel, all over the place. So we were able to travel for those games. But when you're only playing 1 game a week, like if we were only playing Russian League, for example, you're playing 1 game a week on Saturdays. You got 6 days in between
That's a
each
long
game.
week of practice.
No, it's brutal. So,
Yeah.
3 games a week. And it doesn't just keep you busy with games. Like I said, I mean, it's a lot easier to get into rhythm, and you play bad, you lose, you got another game in a day, so you don't have time to think about it.
So in that Russian league, you've essentially got two different records that don't have anything to do with each other for the most part.
Yeah, so like you're playing two different two different sets of playoffs, basically. So when we were in Champions League, the way the leagues break down are a little bit different. So in Champions League, it would go by like round. So there was like 3 rounds, and you had to qualify for each round. So you had to be like, I think there was maybe like, I can't remember, 12 or 14 teams in each bracket, and there was like 5 brackets, and you had to be top 10 or top 8 at the end of each round to go on to the next round. So if you wanted to play the whole year, basically, you had to be qualifying for the next round. So we made it to like the second or third round. So we played in Champions League until like February, and then we were done and only had Russian League for the rest of the year. But, when it comes down to the very end, you're playing – that's a whole separate league. So you're playing a playoff for a Champions League, but it doesn't have anything to do with your Russian League statistics,
Right. And then do those would the Russian League then schedule around the Champions League, because I feel like that's a little bit more higher stake, or were there conflicts sometimes?
There's never conflict, but they're definitely like, scheduling with each other. Like Euro League, for example, like let's say I'm in the playoffs for Russian League and my team's also in the Euro League.
Mm-hmm.
The Russian League is going to hold off their playoffs until the Euro League finishes its playoffs.
Okay.
So, they work together in that aspect for scheduling or whatever.
And then let's say, perfect world, 2020 goes away, 2021 comes, gets rid of COVID, in a perfect world. The season ends. Are you out of that country as fast as possible? Do you take like a week off and then leave the country? Or are you kind of like, hey man, the season ended Friday, I'm trying to get back to America by Sunday?
I'm pretty much always the same. You got to remember, well, I guess if I wanted to stay here and not get paid, then obviously that's my decision. So I could stay and hang out if I want, but I'm a real homebody. So as soon as things are over, I'm on the first thing smoking, usually back to America.
Right.
As most people are. I mean, I don't know anybody that just hangs out after the season. I mean, some people might, if they're in a certain part of the world, fly to somewhere close that's a nice vacation spot or something. But
right.
I don't know anybody that just, hangs out where they're at just to be around.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes a little bit of sense. Well, shoot, man. Anything that you want to promote for yourself? Anything that you want to talk about that we didn't get to talk about?
No, man, that was good. I mean,
Yeah.
You can promote if you want. I'm going to try to throw this. Hopefully the audio works out. I'm recording this too. I'll put this up on my podcast.
Okay, cool, man.
If
your audio doesn't work out, I'll hit you with that. I'll like do a little Google Dropbox thing where I can just upload it. Because this does so not promoted by Zoom, but basically you hit the record button and then it just renders and then it saves the file to your computer. So it's pretty easy breezy for a free platform, and which is cool because then now that you're quarantining, I was like, hey man, this would be the perfect time to hit him up while he's staying where he's at.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been off the podcast a little bit just because, I had certain ones that I wanted to do, and now I'm, trying to do more like specific based ones. If people have things that they want to hear about, and my next one will be a lot about this summer and COVID, and I don't even really want to talk about COVID just because I'm so sick and tired of hearing about this crap 24 hours a day. But
yeah,
just summer in that aspect, the way things have panned out and just how different it's made everything.
Yeah. But I mean, you're still getting it done. You're still getting out there, and you're not complaining too bad about it. But and again, thanks for taking out the time. You can check out his podcast. It's called the Cape Kid Podcast. Your Instagram handle, I believe, is the same thing, the Cape Cod Kid.
Yep, same thing. Cape Cod Kid Podcast and Cape Cod Kid on Instagram, all platforms.
And then, I'll link him in my Twitter. That's on JT of Jville. For all that jazz, I even got that website. So, again, thanks, Nick. I'm going to deuces. Hold on.